Coming from being the man growing up, I ended up in a psychiatric ward of a hospital. And a part of me knew that I needed to be there just because all of the stuff that was going on in my head that I couldn't explain. But another part of me was just like, yo, my life is over now.
In honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, this episode is made possible with the support of Spring Health.
Can you begin by just telling us how you feel right now?
Nervous, anxious a little bit, just from not knowing how deep I'm gonna go.
Can you talk about some of the assumptions that people make about you based on your appearance or how you look?
If someone see me dressed like this, especially where my hair is, I have grills in, they may make an assumption that I'm a thug. So if I'm going into more so a predominantly white town, I love to wear hoodies, but I'm not going to wear a hoodie where I'm going to have it on my head all the time. I make sure that I don't put my hands in my pockets. Based over how I dress, how I talk, any type of mannerisms, that person can judge me, and then unfortunately, by me being a black male, I could be killed for that.
How does that make you feel?
I don't belong here. Growing up as a black male, I always had to adapt. So that's what allows me to also, I feel like, be an effective therapist, because I find ways to connect with people because I've been going through this training all of my life.
Can you talk about what's been your biggest struggle?
Growing up, I was a smart kid. I played sports. So people will always tell you, oh, you should go be a doctor, or you should be a lawyer, or you should do these things. Just always trying to make sure that I pleased other people. But then also just being a man. You always have to be strong. You always have to be the provider. When it's coming down to me being sad, I was always trying to suppress that. I never wanted to show any tears or emotions. Everybody looked at me like, oh, Sean is gonna make it. He's gonna be the one that goes off and makes all of this money. He's gonna come back to the community and do all of these great things. Even going into my college years, I was playing football and running track in college, but I suffered a knee injury and that sidelined me. And after surgery, I was stuck in my dorm room. I didn't want to let anybody know that I was struggling with pain. But then it was more so of the pain of losing my identity. Because at this particular point, I had played sports all of my life. And now that was taken away from me. And in addition to that, I graduated from high school and at the top of my class, and I almost failed out of school my first year. So almost failing out of school, and then now I'm not playing sports, so my identity was gone. Suppressing those emotions and feelings and not getting those things out, it led to sleepless nights. I get to a period where I wasn't eating. I lost about 25 pounds over a matter of like 6 to 7 weeks. I wasn't showering, I didn't care. That's when my delusions started and hallucinations. I started to hear voices. The voices about that I shouldn't be here. And that I'm a failure. My mom, she would call me every day and always ask, are you all right, baby? Are you okay? I was just trying to put on a facade and tell her that I'm good. Everything is going great. School is going great. The healing process is great. All of those things. Because I don't want to disappoint them. All of the work and stuff that they put into me, the community, everything that they put, I don't want to let them down. But she could tell just something was different in my voice. She sent my cousin in to come check in on me. And my cousin came to my dorm room, and when she saw me, she just started crying. And she could just see it on my face. She could see that I lost so much weight. She see that my hair was all over the place and I didn't smell good, and all of those things. So she called my mom, and my mom was like, "Get him out of there." A couple of hours later, my family shows up, and they come deep. It wasn't just my mom, it wasn't just my dad, it's like my aunts, uncles, and all of them. When they got there, they kept asking me, all the questions. It was like, what's wrong with you? I was like, no, I'm fine. It was like, if you're not going to talk to us, we're going to take you somewhere so you can get help. So I started panicking. I'm fighting them the entire way. Got into the hospital. Terror really set in because at this point it's real. I ended up punching a nurse. So they restrained me and they sedated me. Coming from being the man growing up, I ended up in the psychiatric ward of a hospital. And a part of me knew that I needed to be there just because all of the stuff that was going on in my head that I couldn't explain. But another part of me was just like, yo, my life is over now. I was terrified, not just for the fact that I was in there, but then also the fact that like, oh, nobody in there looked like me. I don't trust people. My people have been tested on, and we've been, like I said, considered as animals. So we get the experimental treatment. So when they're constantly asking me questions, I held my tongue for the longest. It's like, I'm not telling you what's going on. I don't trust you enough to give you that information. So no, I'm not talking. But honestly, you're in restraints long enough, and you realize that you're not getting out until you start talking, you start to break. So when I did start to talk, like the floodgates opened, and I just let it all out. I received a diagnosis of bipolar 1 disorder with psychotic features. And honestly, coming from a white man, I was like, all right, I hear you. I just want to go home. I got to the point where I was stable enough to be discharged from the hospital. But then at that particular moment, that's when a major decision had to be made. It was either I go back home, because I couldn't go back to school, because that was one of my triggers. My uncle made a suggestion for me to come live with him in Charlotte, because no one knew me there. And that was another game changer for me, because when I was able to get to Charlotte, I was able to start to work on myself. And I was introduced to this therapist, Dr. Kendall Jasper. That was a significant impact on me because of the fact that he was a black man. He greeted me just like I would greet anybody else in the street. He dapped me up. We talked about sports, we talked about clothes. We were able to build that connection very fast just because of the comfort level by seeing somebody that looks like me. He referred me to a psychiatrist to actually get on medication to help with what I had going on. But when I got it under control, I was under the misconception that I was cured. I don't need no meds anymore. I don't need therapy anymore. I'm gonna get back into the same old thing that I used to do. Get back to school, and symptoms end up coming back. Voices started to get louder. You don't belong here. Or you don't even deserve to be here. Like, yo, you ain't shit. I'm crying at night, and that's not what a man does. I'm still trying to live up to all of these expectations and get back into the groove of things, but then also trying to hide all of the stuff that I had been through. Rwenshaun was the life of the party. Rwenshaun was, the man. Rwenshaun was the cool dude. Rwenshaun was all of these. Rwenshaun was the frat boy. All of this stuff, right? And when the stuff starts to come back, I was like, the ignorance in me, instead of me going back to what actually helped, I started to pick up a bottle. I was going through a fifth of tequila every other day for over 3 years. When you're hearing the voices, you try to combat them, but it's like arguing with someone, and then when you're tired of arguing, you just get up and leave the room, or you be like, yo, I don't want to talk to you no more. Can't get away from this. It goes with me everywhere I go.
How is that impacting your ability to do school and have friends and live your life?
The interesting part about that is I really succeeded. That's what made it dangerous. Because even though I was experiencing emotional turmoil, I had my best grades during the time. I was making money, I was working full time, and even with me drinking a lot, nobody in college, people not gonna check you on drinking. All of this takes a turn though, when the voices get to the point where I can't stop them, and they're way too loud. When they got to that point, I attempted suicide 3 times. The last time I put a gun in my head and pulled the trigger, and it jammed on me. That was the lowest moment of my life.
Was that a turning point for you in your life?
I had to just go back and think about just the last time that I felt good. And for me, it was actually going back to therapy and getting back on meds. Those things that I needed to really address within myself. And honestly, it came down to a realization that I'm gonna be dealing with this shit the rest of my life. I ended up reaching out to my old therapist, but I didn't tell him what was going on. I was still ashamed. From initial diagnosis to the final suicide attempt, that was a 7-year period where I didn't tell people what was going on in my life. I didn't want to show that weakness to them.
Do you still consider that to be a weakness?
No, definitely not. I started to pick up on things with friends and family that was around me. I had a friend that would smoke a lot. He's like, man, I just need to get through the day. You know, this is something, this is the way I cope. So yeah, it ain't hurt nobody, but I can tell that you are hurt. So I was like, yo, bro, what's going on? Nah, I'm good. I was like, all right. I was like, let me tell you something. I was like, when I left school because I was in a psychiatric ward. And I tried to kill myself 3 times. His initial response was just like, yo, bro, why you didn't tell me? He's like, yo, we boys, why you didn't tell me? And when I looked at him, I could be like, oh no. Thought you would look at me different. He's like, I appreciate you sharing with me because I've been dealing with this, and this. So, yo, I know you were dealing with something. I've been going through the same thing. So there's a reason why you're smoking. What is it? So after we had that conversation, you know, I even helped them, you know, as far as trying to find help and talking to someone, continuing to support one another and have real conversations. And that was a spark that led to everything that I do today. As Black men, we don't have those spaces. And I wanted to make a difference. I saw a gap in my community. That's what led me to go get my master's degree in counseling.
So at that point and during those 8 or 9 months, did you actually accept the diagnosis?
Yeah, I started to accept it. Not even just accept it, but learn more about it. It was more so accepting the fact that that's only a piece of me.
What do you do now to like maintain as much equilibrium as you can and I guess balance the swings?
Journaling was a big part of my recovery process. It allowed me to get thoughts out of my head, but then also allowed me to do research on myself. I'm taking note of everything that's going on, whether that be the people that I talk to, the music that I listen to, the food that I eat, what I watch on TV, things that could bring me out of a hole. When my house gets messy, it's a representation of my brain. So I need to clean, I need to declutter, I need to meditate more. I'm also keeping track of my sleep patterns and, you know, understand if I'm not sleeping enough or I'm sleeping too much, I'm understanding something is wrong.
When do you feel the most vulnerable?
I would say I feel the most vulnerable right after I meditate, because then I'm able to sort through my own thoughts and really tap into something greater than me.
What does success look like for you now?
Success for me now, having one of my clients reach out to me and just like, yo, I'm just checking in with you. See how you doing? I'm good. I just want to make sure you good. You helped me get to this particular point.
When do you feel the most handsome or beautiful or whatever you want to call it?
I'm growing my hair out now. And I think the symbolism of that goes beyond just the however it looks right now. Because even when I was young, you know, it was like, oh boy, you need a haircut, your head knotted. this is how it naturally grows out of my head. I think that's a newfound beauty within myself, is being able to embrace my hair the way it is.
Why in your body? Why in your journey? Why in your skin? Why is it a good place to be?
It is the power that's been bestowed upon me to learn more about who I am as a person. As you do that internal work, it spills over into the community. And community is everything. You said it takes a village to raise a child. It's going to take a village to conquer anything that we are faced with right now. So I understand my role in my village and empower others to get in their lanes beside me. And we can make significant change. I displayed resilience, yes. So have my ancestors, so many people. When do we, turn the corner and like I said, stop surviving and start thriving? It's time to live.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of What's Underneath with Rwenshaun, made possible with the support of Spring Health.
I'm Lily.
And I'm Elisa.
And we're the mother-daughter creators of StyleLikeU. Learn more about our partnership with Spring Health in the description below and follow us along on Instagram at StyleLikeU and at spring.health for more details on how you can join in on our mental health awareness campaign. If you were inspired by Rwenshaun's story, please take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel over here and share this episode with any friends or family who could benefit from feeling less alone in their mental health struggle.
And don't forget to ring the bell so that you're notified every time we release a new video on Thursdays. Lots of love.